Hi everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I'm launching the live also on Instagram, so it will just take a few minutes, and then we will be ready to, if I have to do it right. What? So okay. How are you, Steve?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm fine too. So it's we are live on Instagram too. Hi everyone. Thank you for coming. We are waiting for Steve, and then we will go. I think I have some issue with my Instagram live, so I don't know if we will be able to do it. It doesn't want to connect. I don't know why. That's
Yeah, I think
strange.
the bandwidth on the stream will slow down if it's more than 2 streams at a time.
Okay.
That can make it more complicated, I think. But I'm trying to get on the live right now, and it's not showing up.
Yeah, they say that they have difficulties. So yeah, I guess we won't be live on Instagram today. So Raphael, if you are with us, you can just tell people that they have to go on YouTube and Facebook instead, because it's not working on Instagram. So anyway, thank you, Steve, for being with us. It's a real pleasure to see you. Yeah, last time we met, it was in New York, and yeah, we could go out, and it was nice. And now we are all at home and stuck.
Yes.
But
It's much different now than it was when we were in New York. You were scheduling lots of meetings and doing a lot of cool stuff. But it was great to meet you and see all the artists play at the Jazz Standard. That was so cool.
yeah, it was a really nice show, and yeah, and my stay in New York was, yeah, it was intense. Like, I had people coming over at the loft like every 30 minutes, so it was really nice. And yeah, I had some plans to do it last year, but unfortunately it was not possible. So
Yeah.
So yeah, just in order to start, I wanted you to maybe present yourself a little bit, to talk about your career in music for people that maybe don't know you. So
Sure. Yeah, so I started playing the saxophone when I was 14. That was my first instrument, and I just really loved it. I felt like I was always a pretty good ear player, but I mostly read music the first 4 years. Actually, only read music, and then went to college at the University of Cincinnati in Cincinnati, Ohio. For 4 years, I was a classical major, and that was the only way I could get scholarship money. So I wanted to be a classical major so I could save some money on tuition. And I liked playing the classical stuff, but that's when I really got into jazz and discovered improvisation and realized how much fun it is you don't have to read music. You can make up whatever you want, kind of. Not exactly, but there's a lot more freedom in it. So that's when I started improvising when I was like 18 or 19 years old. And when I got to college, I tell people this all the time, and it sounds crazy, but I didn't know any music theory. I knew my major scales, but I didn't know what a triad was. I didn't know what intervals were. I didn't have a lot of the theory background that I think some people did. I didn't really understand chords and scales and all that stuff. So I don't know. I think I got like a later start than some people getting into music do. That's interesting to me when I look back at all these like amazing high school players and stuff like that. But okay, so after college, I went on cruise ships for 5 years and was musical director on a cruise ship after a couple of years of being there, which was great. I get to lead bands and play the music that I liked to play and enjoyed to play there, that were in the cruise ship repertoire. And then after that, I moved back to Ohio for 1 year to go to grad school, and I studied with a guy named Sean Thunder Wallace, who's an amazing saxophonist and plays everything. Actually, he plays every instrument. And he taught me a lot of the music theory stuff that I didn't learn. So I learned a ton of those things. And then shortly after that, I moved to New York, and I've been there for 10 years. So just been working with the Brian Newman band. Brian Newman's a great friend of mine from college that I met at Cincinnati. He moved to New York in like 2004 and has been there ever since. And we play together. He was nice enough to let me join his band, and haven't looked back since like 2012. 2011, I guess. I've been a like full-time member of his band until the pandemic, but we're still planning things out for the coming year, and lots of good stuff in the future. So that's it. That's my short history. Yeah, it's been fun.
Okay. So yeah, we've worked together on several mouthpieces, and so one especially is the one for Your Tenor that we just released today. So yeah, can you talk a little bit about it, and why do you like it, and maybe we can hear it too?
Yeah. So this mouthpiece I got originally, it was sent as like a prototype, and then I tried it and just kind of fell in love with everything about the way it sounded. I had my original artist mouthpiece, which was also amazing, and I still love playing that too. But something about this piece, when I first tried it, I just felt like there was this freedom that I had in it, and especially in the altissimo register, and I'll show you in a minute. This has actually changed the way that I play the saxophone, because the altissimo is so easy to get out, to speak. And I've played lots of mouthpieces that do that and that offer that, but what I love about this is I can still play low notes like incredibly well also. So I don't know what you did to this one to make it do that, but it's I have yet to play a mouthpiece that can do that with such clarity and just ease, so that's it. So I don't know, I can say all the cliche things, great response, great tone and all these things, but I really think it has that like extra, whatever, 10% that you're always looking for in a mouthpiece. I just haven't been able to find until I found this one. So that's it. I don't know. Did you have any specific questions about it? I'm actually curious, as a creator, like, what do you think of when you're making, like, let's say a person asks you have your brightness to dark scale on there. So if somebody asks you, like, I want like a middle of the road mouthpiece, specifically with the facing, what do you try to do differently for different artists?
So about the brightness and power, usually we will work more on the baffle and on the size of the chamber. So basically, if you want something really in the middle, what's working great is actually a step baffle, but really low. So it gives some power, but not too much, and the mouthpieces with that kind of baffle and with a medium large chamber, then it gets really homogeneous and really easy to play. So it's for example a model we've done for like Ofer Asaf. Maybe you know him. Actually, I met him in New York also when I was the last time when I was there, and we made a mouthpiece for him. Yeah.
And that's interesting about the chamber size, because this is the first one, I think. Maybe Dana, I have Dana's here too, but that's an extra large chamber. I don't. The one I had before was a medium-sized chamber, which I also love, like I said. But this was the first tenor piece I tried with an extra large chamber, so I'm wondering if maybe that had something to do with it. But is that what Dana's has too?
No, actually, Dana has a small chamber, so it's So on yours, like the extra large chamber, that's what help you get the low register really easy.
Okay.
So cool. And you have a curved baffle that gives a lot of power. Usually it gives a little brightness too. So then with an extra large chamber, it's kind of balanced. So the sound is still dark. Yeah,
and that's one thing I will say. Like, a lot of times a mouthpiece like this will be much brighter than I want it to be, but it's there's something about it that I can still get like super dark. You know, I can still get that dark, breathy thing, but then if I want to go up high, you know, I can go back and forth between these extremes like instantly. And I, you know, you can do these things on any mouthpiece, but this mouthpiece makes it makes the gap like so much wider. I can get all these different emotions and just colors out of this mouthpiece that are awesome. How was that when I was playing loud? It wasn't distorting, was it? Is that okay? I can turn the mic level down a little bit.
No, it's okay. It's still
Okay.
good. Yeah. Yeah, so actually we have a surprise for you guys. For like 24 hours we have a special discount code that will be available on all the Steve mouthpieces, so you can use the code Steve15 and you get 15%. And so it's only 24 hours and it's on all Steve mouthpieces. So maybe, yeah, I don't know if you have your alto and clarinet close by, but it would be nice to hear also after. But maybe we can start with the tenor. And so we say that we will try a lot of mouthpieces because we didn't see it, but Steve, we sent you different models so you can make people try mouthpieces when they are in New York, because I cannot be in New York all the time.
Yeah.
So right now it's complicated too because you are not in New York, but usually when you are there, you make people try mouthpieces. So
yeah, a lot of people have been contacting me when they're in town, or just people that live in the like close area to try them, and that's been really, really great. It was unfortunately bad timing with the pandemic, but like even before the pandemic, I'd say I've had at least like 15 people over now, and it's been awesome. The ones I have here, I have 6. So I was going to be happy, you know, if anybody chimed in and wanted to hear any mouthpieces specifically. But I have Tavon Pennicott, Scott Paddock, Chad Lefkowitz Brown, the John Troy, and Dana Stevens and Mornington Lockett. So all of those are great mouthpieces, and honestly, I could use any of them as my main mouthpiece because they all play that great. Mornington's is interesting to me. I wanted to ask you about his because I've never seen anything like that, and he sounds so great on his mouthpiece, but I don't know how he does that. It's such an interesting dimension. Like,
yeah, and he's actually sounded pretty. He actually sounds pretty dark for what the mouthpiece really is. So it's kind of crazy, yeah, because you don't expect it to play like that when you hear Mornington play.
Right. Yeah, it's a super high baffle, right? Like it's
yes,
and a very long, like long step.
Yeah, you don't even have the space for the. You don't have a lot of space for the air, but it still works. So.
Yeah, it works. He sounds so good on it. It's just so cool.
So we have a Gunther that would like to hear the Chad model. So can you play it a little bit? And yeah, maybe compare it with your mouthpiece too after.
Yeah, so I just played mine a little bit, so I'll put the same reed on Chad's, which Chad's is great. I really like his with projection and all this, but for me, when it was the second the second mouthpiece I tried, I went over to Eddie Rich's and I tried Tavon Pennicott's and then I tried Chad's, and both of them were just like, because I was playing on a Van Doren V16 before, and when I put the Chad one on, it was like instant like volume, like so much sound was coming out of it. So all that sounds really great to me. And I just, I love the way it responds. Like I said, I think it's a great mouthpiece. The thing I wasn't a huge fan of with this, for me personally, was just when I got up to the altissimo. I think because of the baffle, there's not as much space as I like up there. So it's actually so great. But I just remember trying to push. Sometimes I like to go even higher than that. And I was having trouble. Like I had to find like a really good reed in order to make those really, really high notes work up there. But yeah, the Chad mouthpiece is really.
Yeah, actually, Creben Studios is asking if you are using rigot reeds.
I'm using Boston Sax 2 reeds, but I clip them, so they end up being like 2.25 or 2.5 sometimes. Yeah, I've always been like either if I'll play a reed strength and then I'll end up shaving it down, or I'm always like in between reed sizes. I don't know if it's just obsessive compulsive disorder why I do that, but I always end up clipping them or sandpapering. But yeah, do you want to hear the other one, or should I play a little more on this?
Yeah, actually, it was distorting a little bit when you were like in a high register. So
yeah, no problem. I'll turn the microphone down just a little bit.
Okay.
I'm actually surprised I haven't been doing more input. I have it half, so this is going to be down a little bit. So I don't know. Oh, it's on. Sorry. Okay. So is that better? It's a little quieter now, right?
I can still hear you, I guess. Yeah, people tell us if you don't hear us well.
Yeah. Cool. So. Also, too, like you hear that squeak. I noticed on the CLB model, I squeak a little bit. I don't know why this is. It could have been the baffle thing too. I've just never liked the step baffle, so for me, that's just why it didn't work. The other thing I will say too is that I really love about my new one is that the spitty sound doesn't happen on this new one. That whatever you want to call it, like the sizzle that you get sometimes on just any mouthpiece really, and that's obviously from the reed mostly, but for whatever reason you don't hear it as bad on the new piece, which I love because it's just all you hear is just pure tone, like there's no spit going on there at all. So what I was saying about adding notes to my range is I've really never been able to play much above an E flat, but on this one, I'm finding new fingerings and stuff that work for these higher notes that I'm not really even having to use a lot of like a crazy complicated fingering. And I think it's because the mouthpiece is just able to get these out much easier. so I'm practicing this stuff. I live in a place like all by myself right now, so I'm getting it out while I can before I have to be around people. But
Yeah.
working these things out. But I can see potential to go much higher than that with maybe just a little bit harder reed or just experimenting with the different fingerings and stuff. And a lot of other mouthpieces just can't do that. So that's what I love about this one so much.
So James is asking question, can the baffle we altered further for more effects? I thought Pauline said something like curve or fenestrated in regards to the baffle. I don't remember saying that, but I don't know. It doesn't. What kind of effects do you mean, James? Maybe you can just add some information on your question, because I'm not sure about what you are talking about. Sorry.
I think
maybe
the immediate effect with baffle would be brightness, though, right? Like, I learned this like a while back. You put a piece of gum in the mouthpiece.
Yeah, it's the baffle is mostly at first is power, and then it's brightness. So yeah, usually when you want to get power, you put like a really high step baffle, like in the guardalas, and but then you get that really bright sound with that. So then we try to invent like new kinds of baffle also to try to get power, but without too much brightness. So that's, for example, that's what we've done with the with Stevens or Dana's mouthpieces. So it's a circular baffle. It's a little more resistant, but we put some what we call ridges on it, and it gives a little more push to the sound without the brightness. So you can get like a really dark sound and still get some power. So it's not too resistant, because yeah, usually otherwise dark mouthpieces are like really resistant and it's difficult to play.
Mm-hmm.
You want to play the Stevens model so we can hear also the difference?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Yeah, I feel like the original artist piece that I had was kind of similar to T-Von's.
Yeah, it was the same baffle, a little higher than on T-Von's. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I loved T-Von's originally. Sometimes I would go back and forth between mine and his, and just notice the differences there. But they were pretty similar. I think T-Von's is definitely a little darker.
Yes. So, yeah, James, so you was talking about changing the shape of the baffle with like dotted line or micro holes. Yeah, actually, it's there is so many things to try that we should do, but we don't have time to try everything. So, but yeah, I guess we will try to find more time, and maybe this year or next year, because we are actually hiring more people to the team, the research team. So I think we will have more time to work on new products and work on improving or finding new stuff on the saxophone and clarinet mouthpieces that we already have.
Cool. Let's see. Yeah, and it has that similar like airy
yeah
vibe, but just like smoky kind of sound to it. But the response on this is just so great. I feel like just playing it just now compared to both of the other ones, it's maybe for me, I would go up a reed strength probably with this one. But yeah, it's great. Love it.
So yeah, osmosis is yeah. First, I'm really glad that you like your Syos mouthpiece, and he's also asking what's your horn, what's your saxophone?
Oh yeah, so this is a Yamaha 82Z, and Yamaha a couple of years ago they came out with this like Atelier model, which I think it was like a prototype, and they're experimenting with possibly making like a Mark III version of the Z. And they made about 100 of these, and I was lucky enough to get this finish and this with a high F sharp key. They only made like 4 or 5 with a high F sharp key because they just assumed everybody was going to want to have no F sharp. Don't quote me on that. It might have been more than 4, but I rushed and got it right away when it came out because there was only about 100 of them that Yamaha made total. So I got on the waiting list, and I was emailing them every day, like, hey, can I get this horn? I finally was able to get one in my hands, and I never let go since. But it's very similar to the regular Z, I would say. But yeah, it just has this cool like bronze finish on it. Yeah. What do you think I should do next, Pauline, with mouthpiece?
So there is Jerry saying that how do you achieve spread versus focus? So usually to get the more spread sound, we will have like larger chamber, and focus will be with a small, really small chamber. Do you feel that your mouthpiece is more spread or focus?
Yeah, I didn't even think about it until you said that about the chamber just now, but I guess it is spread, now that I think about the sound of it. In comparison to other things I've tried. But I think what makes it work so well is like with the horn, like this is a very focused neck. It's a C1 neck.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe some of that spreadness goes away with this particular saxophone, but I've tried it on my other horn too. And I don't know, it still has like, I still don't feel like it's like out of control spread, but yeah, I would say it's definitely more spread than other pieces I've tried.
But I think you just have mouthpieces with small chamber, no? Because Mornington has small chamber, Scott Paddock too, and all the Dana and Stevens too. So the only big one is your.
Yeah. What about John Troy's? Is his was his a medium?
I don't remember.
So John was interesting to me. I recorded a song with the Brian Newman Quintet. We played like Santa Claus is Coming to Town or something, Jingle Bells, like super fast. And I wanted to be festive, I wanted to use a red and green for the Christmas song. And John's mouthpiece is a 7 tip opening, and what I'm used to is a 9. So what I ended up doing for this was I really wanted to use these colors. So I just was like, oh, I'm just going to try using a 3.5 reed on this, or I think this is a 4. So I never play a 4, but I put it on John's mouthpiece and it sounded really good. So I'd love to play that right now just to see the difference. And honestly, it was pretty similar in some ways, to what I was used to, just having the smaller tip opening and the much harder reed. But yeah, I don't remember either. I unfortunately can't really tell the exact size by looking.
Yeah, I would have to check. Yeah, because his mouthpiece, we released his mouthpieces as a signature on the alto, but actually not on the tenor. So that's why, I usually know all my mouthpieces, but for this one, I'm just I have to check. I've got it now. Yeah, actually, he has the same baffle than yours, so it's a circular baffle, but the chamber is a little. It's more a medium large chamber. It's not as big as yours, but yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's probably why I liked it then. It's because of the chamber thing. Pauline, I've been meaning to ask asked you what is your favorite song, or like jazz standard. I know you probably have a lot of favorite songs.
I like All the Things You Are.
Okay, cool. There's that squeak I get sometimes. This I'm not used to.
Yeah, it's too close, no? Yeah.
It is. It's a little more closed. I kind of like that. It reminds me of Stan Getz in a way. And what's funny is John doesn't sound. He reminds me of Coltrane more. He's got much more like a laser beam kind of sound. But I could get a very like if I wanted to do a Stan Getz tribute concert, I would definitely use this mouthpiece. So like on these, even though the tip opening is more closed, because I'm using the harder reed, I can still get all those crazy altissimo notes out. But the point, I mean, the thing I wanted to emphasize, I guess, is that it feels really great. You know, even though it's like almost a very different dimension-wise, it's a very different thing that's happening at the tip opening, but it still feels like pretty familiar to me, or something that I could definitely deal with and get used to and make it sound like me, you know. So I think that's what I love about the mouthpieces in general. Like all the ones that I've tried, they're so versatile. Like in my mind, like if I chose any one of them and was like, I'm going to make this my mouthpiece, I could do it. I wouldn't feel like I'm sacrificing a lot, you know, by changing a little bit of a dimension. But that's why I fell in love with the company. They're just, you know, the products.
Yeah, actually, yeah. What I was, I wanted to say when you say that you don't sound the same that John. It's yeah. So all the musician will sound different on each mouthpieces, and that's also why when we design a custom mouthpiece, we will send a first version, and then you have 30 days to try it. And if you feel that something it needs to be improved, you can just tell us and we will send you a new one. So that allows us to really take your feelings into account to get something that is closer to your expectations. So that's how we work, because everyone is different. So it cannot be always the first time good, but usually it works pretty great. So
yeah, with the tenor piece that you sent originally, I used that for a long time, for like a year. And I remember the first time I put it on, I was like, this is the best thing I've ever tried. And I didn't even think twice about it. I had no questions asked. And then I tried some other things, and we're switching to this mouthpiece now, but it's, I could definitely keep using the piece I was using. I was going to put the Van Doren on just to hear the difference.
Okay.
Between this and mine, even though nobody asked me to. What was I say? A lot of people, I hear a lot of people complain about the ligature too, which not a lot of people, but I've heard people or seen people use different ligatures. And I did want to say one thing about, the Syos ligature, because I always use the ligatures and I think they're great. I think if I don't push it on far enough, if I don't push it down so that it creates like a nice seal with the reed, then sometimes I do get problems with it, or I feel like it doesn't maybe work the way it's supposed to work. But if I make a point of just pushing it down a little bit, maybe like one extra notch on the mouthpiece, then the ligatures awesome as far as I'm concerned. I love that it's really easy to take on and off, and like no hassle at all.
And maybe a small tips for people. Sometimes people get the ligature stuck, and so you have to twist it to remove it more easily, because if you want just to remove it like that, it doesn't really work. But we're actually working on some small tips that we will write on some paper that we will put with the mouthpiece when people buy it. So maybe it would be easier to explain all that stuff.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I remember the first time I got my tenor ligature stuck on the mouthpiece, I was freaking out a little bit, but then I realized you just twist it.
Yeah.
It's a little bit harder with the soprano pieces just because.
Yeah, it's small.
Yeah. In that case, one time I think I did have to use, I used my teeth, and I just like.
Maybe you shouldn't do that.
Yeah. So this is good. I'm able to remind people what not to do too.
Yeah.
So let's do. So with this one, I think there is maybe a little bit more of like something of a clarity to it, I guess, and this is possibly because of the material, but the sound is much smaller to me. Mm-hmm. Like it just doesn't have the projection to it. And that I think is partly what got me hooked on Syos as well, is like when I would go back to the other mouthpieces, I wasn't getting the same volume, and it was like a real buzzkill to go back to anything else after playing on Syos. I just didn't get the same feeling of it, so I'll put mine on. And I guess that smaller sound, it leaves less possibility for colors, you know. Mm-hmm. I don't know. So they're like the same tip opening, and that's also a large chamber, but this one I feel like is maybe even a little larger. But yeah, it was just, I don't know. I could never go back after playing these. I don't think I will switch to anything else. Moving forward, I know because Syos is always advancing and changing things and coming up with new things, it's possible that I might use a new Syos or just maybe make some alterations to this one in the future, but it would be a long time from now because I just haven't really had to think twice about anything regarding this mouthpiece. Yeah, that's also what we want to do, like with artists, like you play, and then at some point you change also your way of playing, or you may have some different ideas for different sounds for a different album or whatever, so that we are always here to hear your new ideas and new sounds, and to work on that too. Yeah, I love it. It's awesome. I had a question, and I think I've talked to you about this on email, but this is something we didn't talk about that we didn't say that we were gonna talk about. But are you guys planning on doing new or like different colors? Like, because on the color wheel, like if let's say I wanted something like between two colors, like between brown and black, like a darker brown or something like that, or between like white and yellow, like just some kind of like lighter yellow or something like that. Uh, how difficult is that to do? And I'm sure you've experimented with it before. I'm curious, like what the process is with the colors and how you decided on the colors you have, and then if there's any plans or talks to do new, different colors.
Yeah, that's a good question. And so right now we are using like a material that is like a brand of material, and they come with special colors, so we cannot change the colors. So that's kind of the colors of that brand. And but right now we are working on making our own material. So it would be better material, more resistant, smoother, and a lot of different things. And on those material, we are actually making our own colors too. So, but that actually takes a lot of time. So we decided with the team for like 10 new colors, and so then we have like a color guy that will like do all the stuff to find a good color. And then we make some try, and then we realize that the color is awful. So right now we are kind of oh, that color is really bad, can you change it please? So that's how we are doing it right now. So
Yeah, I guess you don't want to make an announcement if it's just like one color or two. You want to have
yeah, like so now we are now we are actually waiting to get all our colors right. And yeah, and then we will release the new colors, so it would be in a couple of months. So yeah, that now in it was
it was supposed to be a surprise. Sorry. I think everybody figured it was going to happen sooner or later. So sorry.
Yeah, it will happen soon. And I think what we will do after is that we will if people are want some special colors, maybe we will launch some votes of what should be the new color, and then design a special color for maybe some limited series or stuff like that. So
yeah,
we'll see. There are a lot of things to do.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, I for me that was at first when I first started playing, I just wanted a black mouthpiece, just to
yeah, I remember that I was saying yeah we don't do black mouthpieces for artists. And
and yeah, originally I wasn't mad about it, but I was like, what the heck, but then I started using them, and I kind of really like the colors grew on me now. And there's a couple that I like. I like gray, yellow, brown, white. But I think I would definitely use something if it was maybe on the darker side of the spectrum. I would use most of these other colors, but yeah, I don't know. It grew on me though. I really like the colors now, so I'm excited to have some different too.
Okay, yeah, we will see.
Yeah.
So we have actually a lot of questions. So there is a question from Matt. Steve, what do you personally do to cultivate a dark versus bright sound depending on the mouthpiece you are playing?
Cultivate. Interesting question. So like, I think it's just maybe how I'm playing on the reed, really, and the style of music. Like whenever I'm thinking funk or something like that, I'll think brighter. So I'll maybe use a little more pressure on the reed and maybe more even pressure across the reed. And just more air. I think in general when I'm playing funk and stuff like that, and brighter, I'm definitely thinking just pushing the air faster and playing more with more volume. And then dark versus bright sound. To cultivate a dark sound, more subtone, so I'll back off the reed a little bit, and then roll the bottom lip out a little more. And that doesn't necessarily mean I'm playing quieter. It just means that I'm dampening the tone. So I'll play the same like funky kind of thing, but with that armature. I've never tried to do this before. This is weird. And so it doesn't sound ideal for funk. It's almost like hearing Ben Webster play a funk riff or something like that. He never did that. He was more smooth and suave with everything that he played. But yeah, I think I'll think of more like cushiony and just coming off of the reed a little bit more. But hopefully that answers your question. Is there a way that I can see the questions, or is that all on your end?
I don't know. What do you see? So I don't know. You don't see on the comments?
No, I think it maybe because I don't have an account that I'm just on the website. So maybe that's part of it. I don't have to see the questions. I would just...
Okay. Yeah. Actually, there is a question for me.
Nice.
So the question is, why did you create Syos? And then there is Mike saying also, yeah, so I actually answered the question on the Instagram of Mike Criban Studios, but I can still answer it now. I will try to do it quick. So the story is I was doing research in acoustics and working especially on the saxophone. And after my PhD, I went to Canada, and I had a research project on the acoustics of mouthpieces. There, it was in Montreal, and we lose.
I'm getting my alto, so
I'm so boring.
No.
Ciao.
I'll be listening the whole time.
Okay. So yeah, I had a project, a postdoc project on the acoustics of mouthpieces, saxophone mouthpieces in Montreal, and and at some point I wanted to compare the results of my acoustic simulations to what the musicians were saying, and so I decided to use 3D printing to make the mouthpieces that I was studying, so I could get a real comparison. And and when I made the musician try, I saw several musicians told me, "Oh, that's nice. Where can I buy it?" And I was like, "Oh, you want to buy that?" So I was surprised at first, and then actually I was supposed to go to Mexico to do another postdoc, and then I had to go back to France actually for personal reasons. And I was in Paris, and I had no jobs, and at some point I thought about the story of the saxophone players who wanted to buy the mouthpieces, and I said maybe it's a good idea, and I tried, and then I created Syos. That's the story.
Yeah, I actually always wondered that too, because you told me when you were in New York that you're a flute player, right?
Yeah, I am.
So how did you decide on saxophone mouthpieces? Like, where did just the decision to make that particular instrument?
So yeah, as I said, it was because I during my PhD and my postdoc, I worked on old wind instruments, but mostly on the saxophone. So I had better knowledge about the saxophone, and when I started, I thought, so flute was not my main target, because first I knew that flute players would be complicated and it was easier on the saxophone because the saxophone player are used to switch mouthpieces, and mouthpieces are made in hard rubber, so it's plastic. So I thought that it would be easier to give plastic to people that are used to plastic, even if at first they said, "Oh, it's plastic," and I said, "Yeah, hard rubber is plastic too," and I said, "Really?" So
and that makes sense.
So that's why I wanted to start on the clarinet too, but I did I did interview with a lot of musicians when I started, and I realized that clarinetists were maybe a little more. No, I wouldn't say complicated, but that maybe saxophone players were like really more interested in mouthpieces than clarinet players. So that's why I started on the saxophone.
Yeah, I can see that about. I think it's the genre of music too. But there's
and also, yeah,
the different personalities involved with the different instruments.
Mm-hmm.
It's not wrong to be stereotypical with that, because there's definitely people act some, everybody's a different person, but clarinet players are definitely more particular, I think, in general about things, so, and it's a more particular instrument. It's a complicated instrument, so it makes that all makes perfect sense.
So there is Jerry asking if you have the Michael Wilbur or Insane in the Rain. Do you have those mouthpieces?
I don't, unfortunately. I haven't gotten them yet, but I think because I haven't been doing the testing for a little while, I haven't been asked for those for since they've came out, really. But I'll get them soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, Jerry, if it's an interesting question, I guess maybe we wanted to organize maybe a live or with the guy from Syos, like Sylvie and Brian. They are really great saxophone players. So maybe we will do a new test session soon with the mouthpieces we have at the office. So yeah, we will keep you informed. So we will be able to try those if you are interested. So now there is Osmosis asking if you can talk a little about the soprano pieces.
Yeah.
Do you have some soprano pieces?
Yeah, I have 4.
Okay, nice.
Can I run and get my soprano really quick? I really love my. I used the Dana Stevens one. And I didn't play soprano for a really long time because I didn't have a mouthpiece I liked. I was using Van Doren pieces and I tried like literally every model of Van Doren piece. And I always felt like I was getting this insane amount of pushback and pressure. And I used to play, I think the one I ended up liking when I was playing a lot was like the Yamaha 4C, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
But when I got to the Dana Stevens piece, it was great. So yeah, let me run and get it. And I have Dana Stevens, Scott Paddock, one I can't remember the guy's name, and then Mornington. So
okay,
I can try.
I have some question I can answer right now. So
cool.
So is there some Syos mouthpieces for bass clarinet? Yes, actually, yeah. Actually, we have great news. Maybe you didn't see it, but we just released the Shabaka Hutchings clarinet signature on the bass clarinet. So it's really great. Like, it's such an awesome player. So if you haven't see it, you should check on our website. There is now there is a section about the clarinet mouthpieces, and we do have, so you can get your custom bass clarinet, or you can also get some signatures model. So we have a great powerful model for with Harrington de Dioniso, and so we have Shabaka Hutchings and Eric Croissant and a lot of other great players. So Osmosis, that was classically trained as flutist but switched to saxo. So I could be heard in jazz. Yeah, true. Yeah, I was classically trained as a flutist, and now I play bass guitar. But
nice. Do you play in a band?
I used to, but so I was more into. Actually, I'm more into rock music, like indie rock, and so I had a lot of different bands, but all the time it's complicated. Like I had like the singer or the the guitar player that were like a big head, and it didn't really end well. So now I'm more working on my own stuff. Like I'm writing my own song. I'm doing everything by myself at home, so I don't have to fight with anyone.
Yeah, no, that's great. Self-producing is the way to go nowadays. Um, So with this piece, I feel like I can do just like any style on it. The tone is so clear, and it's a little on the brighter side, I would say. But I don't know. With the Dana Stevens piece, you'd think it would be darker. I know that he tends to like the darker sounding things, but I feel like this is a great crossover piece where you could do classical stuff. You know, I haven't played with a classical armature for so long, but I feel like this. I would use this mouthpiece on a lot of different styles of music. But yeah, I guess I didn't need to get the horn to do that, but I'm gonna play it just a little more, just since I got it out anyway. Yeah, I don't know. Just the tone is like so easy to control, and that was the thing that surprised me about this one, is that I could push the volume, and the tone didn't really get sacrificed. So like, sorry. Yeah, the reed's still a little bit dry, so I'll do it on a higher note. So a lot of times when you push on, especially on those other mouthpieces I was trying, the tone kind of just hits a ceiling, and then it'll get louder, but it doesn't actually grow in like, depth and width. And with this mouthpiece, no matter how hard I push, it just keeps it's like it continues to grow in the right direction. I know that's not a very articulate way of saying it, but yeah, it's an awesome piece. I wanted to ask you about this really quick, Pauline. I'm sure you have other questions, but so I had this. The other mouthpieces are still downstairs, but two of them are very similar in size. Like I looked at the number in the scroll, and it was like I was going back and forth forever with Ofer about this. We were listening to somebody who was trying them, and they kept going back and forth between the two pieces, and we were trying to figure out what the difference between the mouthpieces were, and they were actually like almost identical. I think the tip opening maybe was just like a little bit larger, smaller, but when you get certain artists, and let's say they like a certain mouthpiece or whatever, are you inclined sometimes when you make custom pieces to make it similar to an artist piece and then make some alterations? I think that was one of the coolest things for me, was like I was able to say, I really like Tavon's mouthpiece, but can you make it more of this way? And is that something that you do? And like, what do you take in? Like, let's say, like for me, when I told you originally, I like Tavon's mouthpiece, but I want it to be a little bit brighter. What did you do on your end to make that happen?
So for you, yeah. So we started with the Tivan, and I put the baffle a little higher, so it gave you more power and more brightness.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, it was the same. Actually, it was the same for Tivan, because I first met him in New York, and I had a bag with mouthpieces, so we tried different things, and he liked Dana mouthpiece, so he kept Dana as model for for a few weeks, and after he told me, yeah, I want a little more subtones and a little more power. So that's how I designed the model for Tivons. And then Dana tried the Tivons model and he said, oh, but it's better than mine. So,
that's funny. Yeah, I figured that happens a lot, you know, as the, you know, it's just the way that human nature is, you know, as we're problem solvers, you know, so you're always going to be making better versions as time goes on. And I mean, you see it just in every walk of life, but it's definitely happening with Syos. And it's amazing how you can, I have great mouthpieces, but I know that you're probably eventually going to be able to make even better ones, which is just exciting to think about.
Yeah, it's what we said at the beginning also, that there is so many things that still need to be searched for and investigated. So, but it takes some time. So yeah, sometimes it's frustrating too to not be able to try everything, because yeah, sometimes also we have people like say, oh, you should try that or that, and yeah, we'd like to try everything, but yeah, sometimes we don't really have time to. So we have to find the right balance.
Yeah.
And now we have someone who wants a baritone demo, but
oh man, a friend is borrowing my Barry sax because he was auditioning for the Air Force Band, and nice. There was a part in the audition packet that had a low A in it, and he didn't have a low A Barry, so he needed to borrow my Barry to play low A. But yeah, next time, if there's next time soon, I'll have my Barry for sure.
Okay, so we have Jerry asking which Syos tenor mouthpiece would be free blowing and still give a good level of resistance to push. I guess if you still want some resistance, I will go for like Tivons model, because it's still free blowing, but it has some resistance, because then if we go too high in the power level for the other mouthpieces, I guess you won't have the resistance you want. So I would say that, yeah. So what question do we have? Peter say, so you said you use a tip opening of 9 with relatively soft reeds. What makes you use this over, say, a tip opening of 7 with a harder reed? That's a good question. Yeah,
that's a great question. So I've always wondered this myself, you know, what I'm missing out on if I did go to a more closed tip opening. But I think what I like about the softer reed is that there's more versatility there. When I go to work on the reed, I have the option of making it a lot harder of a reed. And you can say that about the more closed tip opening too. But I think with the larger space just happening in the mouthpiece, you have just more possibilities within that area. So for me, I think the output is probably pretty similar. Like I demonstrated that John Troy prototype, and it's a 7 with a 4 reed. And I feel like the sound was similar, but it's definitely a little bit more closed, just in my opinion, and you know, less colors that way. So for me, as time has gone on, like when I first started playing, I used super hard reeds, and I was a classical major. And then just as the years go on, I progressively have been going softer reed, larger tip opening. And maybe as I get older, I might, you know, dial that back just a little bit. But I think like Lenny Pickett is a great example. His range is just insane on the saxophone, and he's playing like an insanely. He asked Berg Larson, I think, a long time ago, you know, whenever he was figuring out what his mouthpiece is going to be, for the largest tip opening he could possibly make, and I think he plays on like a 13 or something, just insane. I don't know exactly what the measurements are. You would know, Pauline, but he's playing on super soft reeds, and I think it's for that very reason. You know, for especially generating higher notes. You can always do that with more of a tip opening. I think it doesn't have to be that way, but it just creates more possibilities. So that's the long answer for that question.
Okay. So we have Alex saying Steve is amazing. Hey Alex, how are you?
Hey, what's up? Oh, Alex, how you doing, man? Alex is amazing.
Yeah. So yeah. What model was the yellow soprano? It was Dana's, right?
Yeah, Dana Stevens.
Dana Stephens. Yeah, maybe you compare it to, you have the Scott Paddock.
Yeah, I do. I just have to run downstairs again. And
Okay. No, maybe not. Okay.
Right.
So because we still have some question, and it's already 1 hour, so maybe you have something other things to do.
Oh, that's fine. Whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, it's getting late over there, so I was actually worried that I wasn't going to have enough to talk about in this, but this is going well. I think I had questions for you too.
Yeah, in France we have like a curfew at 6 p.m. So it's 7. So I'm already out of the curfew, so I don't really care. I have nothing, nothing else to do. Like just maybe go eat at some point. But so what's your favorite type of sax? And you play all of them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So obviously I just love to play, and I started on alto, and I think I'm an alto player at heart, but I couldn't get gigs just being an alto player. So I picked up tenor, and tenor and alto are like right here for me, and then Barry and soprano are down here somewhere. But yeah, I think I love playing alto the most, and tenor is like very close second. But tenor I have a bigger range on, so in some ways it's more fun for me to play tenor, but I like them pretty equally.
Okay. So we have Daniel say, "Hello, Steve, you are the goat." So I don't know. It's a nice expression in English to say you are the goat. I don't understand, but
yeah. So GOAT is an acronym for greatest of all time.
Oh, right. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. Well, especially when it's written as just all lowercase, people. A lot of times I'll think of the animal goat.
Yeah. I love goats actually, but I didn't know that it means that.
Yeah. No, thank you, Daniel. I appreciate that, man. Thanks for watching.
So I don't know. Were you using metal mouthpieces at some point, or so I don't know. Like, are you using a harder reed than with metal mouthpieces?
I don't think I've ever used a metal mouthpiece. I was messing around with the Van Doren T7 at one point, but I don't think there's any videos of me playing that. But I'm curious what you think about this, Pauline. Like, I was told a long time ago, and correct me if I'm wrong, that there's not a huge difference with the material that's used, especially when you're comparing like hard rubber with metal.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the only thing that is different is the temperature. Like the metal will stay colder for longer. When it heats up, it stays warm or whatever. But in general, the thing I don't like about metal is that when you don't play it for a minute, it gets really cold.
Yeah.
And but I don't notice a huge difference tonally, and I'm curious what your studies led you to with that.
Yeah, so acoustically, what's important is really the internal shape of the mouthpiece. So actually, there won't be any difference in tone and its sound between a mouthpiece in plastic or hard rubber and a mouthpiece within a metal. If the shape is exactly the same, which is difficult to make, so it's difficult to compare. The thing is, you have it in your mouth, and the vibration of the mouthpiece itself is different, so it won't make any difference of the sound that go outside and that people hear. But the thing is, you can hear differences because you have the sound is going with your bones, so you can hear it with your bones too, the vibration of your bones. And that can change if you use a mouthpiece in different materials, because the vibrations are different. So usually, and it's interesting actually, Steve Neff did an article about that by removing the pads, the cushion on the mouthpiece. He realized that he wasn't hearing the sound the same way, and he was like, but that. So with the pads, the mouthpieces was really bad, and without the pads, it was the best mouthpiece ever. And he was like, it's strange. So he recorded himself, and when he listened to the recording, it was exactly the same, but he heard the thing really differently in his head, actually. So that's the main difference. So yeah.
That's fascinating. So the head noise or the head tone, I guess, that you get, has a big effect on this. And now that I think about the people I know that really love metal mouthpieces, that kind of makes sense that they're just really just maybe reacting to the sound that they're hearing. But I noticed, just personally, I didn't notice a difference when I would go back and forth between metal and hard rubber. But yeah, so harder reeds, I would think I would use the exact same reed, just to answer that question. I would use the same strength with metal or plastic or hard rubber.
Okay, I think we have done all the questions. So yeah, just to let you know that maybe you say that you have some really interesting PDF that you wrote that are available on your website. Yeah.
And this discount code is going to be 20% off. I think now I have like 8 or 9 PDFs available. One's on pentatonics. There's 2 on odd meters. There's one's a transcription book. One is just a bunch of odd meter exercises that you can play through, and awesome play along. I spent a lot of time. It took me like 2 months to make this over the summer, and I had guys virtually record themselves playing play along tracks, but they're all New York players. Chris McCarthy is an amazing pianist. Ben Tiberio, who plays with Ari Honig, he's Ari Honig's bass player. And then Evan Hyde, who's just an amazing drummer from Miami. I don't know who he plays with that's like really well known, but he will be playing with somebody soon. So they're all in the rhythm section, and they're playing like just really cool comping textures. And there's like 50 different exercises over all these play along tracks. So that's called a practical approach to odd meters. And then I have a transcription book of my own a cappella solos that has a play along, which has a slow and a fast version of me just improvising a solo with all the articulations written in, and that has like 22 improvised solos in it. And then 2 bebop etude books, and I think pentatonics patterns book, and then a diatonic patterns book of different polyrhythms that you can practice. So yeah, all that stuff is 20% off, and if anybody has any questions about those, I'm happy to answer them. But that's a pretty good deal because they're already 20% off, so now they're going to be 40% off with this with that code. So yeah, definitely jump on that because just save some money.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Steve, thank you for being with us. It was really nice to have you, and nice to compare all those mouthpieces. Maybe we can do another time with the alto mouthpieces.
Yeah, of course, definitely. Whenever you want to do it, and I hopefully have more Syos options by then too. I'll maybe send you an email of things that I've been asked about in the past. But yeah, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, and don't forget that also you can get a 50% discount on all Steve's signature models. So we have the tenor, the alto, and the B flat clarinet. So it's only for 24 hours. So yeah, just be quick.
Can I put that on my Instagram too?
Yeah.
Cool.
Have a good afternoon and a good night for. Oh, we have new comments. Thank you, Steve. Oh, Maxime.
Hey, Maxime.
Hey, Maxime. Thank you. Yeah, so have a great day, night, or whatever, and see you soon. And thank you for watching us. It was nice to have you here, and see you soon.
Yes.
Bye. Thank you.